Oh, no. Being recorded. And the meeting hasn't started.
The February 19th, 2025, regular planning board meetings called to order. This is to advise the notice, time, date, location, and to the extent known, agenda of subject meeting was promptly posted in the public place reserved for such or similar announcements on February 7th, 2025, transmitted to the Times, the Princeton Packet, West Windsor and Plains Road News on February 7th, 2025, and filed with the Township Clerk on February 7th, 2025. Chris, please call the roll.
Mr. Patel,
Say, you gotta speak.
Mr. Lavaro, Mr. Schechtel,
Here.
Mr. Panko,
Yes.
Mr. Baig,
Yes.
Ms. Barre. Yes. Ms. Applegate, Councilman Whitfield, Mayor Marte,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Hoberman, Chairman Clark.
Here. Thank you. We have a quorum. I don't. Before we get into the agenda, I'll ask the public for any comments on non-agenda, non-pending items. Please step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Okay. Seeing none. Like the minutes from June 5th, 2024. I'm sorry, June 5th, 2024. Anybody have any amendments, changes other than spelling errors? Any changes? No? Please call the roll for those eligible to vote. Oh, you're right. Wait, sorry. Hold on a second. I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes from June 5th, 2024. And second? Moved by Alan, second.
You have to
Sent by-
speak.
yes.
It's being recorded.
Second,
Second by Jordica. Okay, thank you. Please call the roll.
Speak up, speak up.
Say yes.
Yeah, it's being recorded, so.
Speak into the microphone.
I think you started this one. Mike, are we on June fifth?
We're at June 5th, 2024
I
meeting.
can't. I can't make that.
You were absent. You're gonna abstain.
I'm sorry.
So far, Mr. Patel has said yes to it.
Yes, yes.
Ms. Barre,
yes,
Mayor Marte,
Yes.
and Chairman Clark.
Yes. The minutes are accepted. Thank you. Next up are June 19th, 2024 minutes. Do I have any changes, amendments to the June 19th minutes?
I have a question.
Yeah,
The liaison reports for the Affordable Housing Committee, it says comments are inaudible. What does that really mean?
on which page?
Page 2.
That's a good question. My guess is that whoever wrote these up, the audio recording couldn't make out any comments.
Well, I just want to get an understanding. Is it the audio or is it the way I speak or, because I think I speak loudly enough.
No, I don't think it's anything like that. It says comments.
Microphone. It's the comments.
But can you hear me now? I mean, usually I feel like I can be heard on the microphone, but
I think it was the comments. It wasn't yours. It wasn't your report. I think it was the comments on.
Jerry, is it possible that we can just attach a copy of the June 19th Affordable Housing Committee memo into record or something?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to attach the Affordable Housing Committee memo that was given on that date, just attach it to the meeting minutes.
So moved.
Okay, so motion to approve these minutes with the attachment is a motion by the mayor, second. Second by Anis. Please call the roll for those eligible to vote.
Mr. Page,
Yes.
Ms. Barre,
Yes.
Mayor Marshak,
Yes.
Chairman abstains. Okay, motion carries. We accept those minutes with attachment. Mr. Shaktel abstains to also.
Oh, I'm a.
Simon abstains also. Say abstain, please.
Abstain.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Okay, next up is the January 15, 2025 meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the.
One second.
Wait a
I have a
second,
correction.
there's a correction coming.
Okay.
The liaison report, I believe I said, there has not been an affordable housing committee meeting since the last planning board meeting, not in 2025. So I
Okay,
think there's a difference between the two, right?
yes, there would be. Can we get that change, please? You got that? Okay.
Thank you.
Even though I wasn't here, I had a question regarding. It's a general question, Sam, this may be for you. On the consent agenda, or letter C, authorization for chair or vice chair to approve bills and vouchers. I haven't seen a bill or a voucher in probably a while.
You want to see the escrow bills and all the here is charging all this application.
Got it. Okay, because I remember with Marvin, sometimes I would go over like bills, legal bills.
There has not been any legal action. Most of the legal goes through the land use budget.
Okay,
And most of the consultant staff bills are charging. That's something that's something. Mr. Warren, the one who didn't want to put the main board, like, just wanted to sign all those vouchers, and want that responsibility. And so we
Okay.
moved to a different.
sounds good to me. Good job, Jerry. Not billing us for anything.
My pleasure.
I was getting bill just like.
Okay, I was absent for this meeting, but entertaining
I'll
motion,
move to.
approve with the amendment.
Amendment. Yeah.
Okay, a motion by Simon, second by Alan. Please call the roll. All those that can vote?
Mr. Shaktel,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Page,
Yes.
Ms. Barre,
Yes.
Yes.
And I'll abstain.
The next set of minutes are closed session, so if there's
Yes.
any corrections to those,
If there's any, yes,
I'll make a motion to approve the,
are there any
the
corrections?
closed minutes.
Okay, one second, one
Meeting
moment.
minutes.
Are there any amendments to the closed session? Anybody?
No.
Okay, now Simon,
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the closed minutes. Meeting of January 15th, 2025.
okay, motion by Simon, second by Anis. Please call the roll for those eligible to vote.
Mr. Shaktel,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Barre,
Yes.
Mayor Marshak.
Yes.
And I'll abstain. Thank you. Okay. Next up is resolution PB 24-11SW Carnegie Center Building 101 sign waivers. 101 Carnegie Center Boulevard, Block 9, Lot 67. Any changes or amendments to the resolution, or why don't we wait for Jerry to give us like a little like summary of it?
This is very straightforward.
This was very straightforward for building 101 at Carnegie, where they wanted a sign that was greater in area than permitted and the letters were higher than permitted. Given the fact that 101 is set back quite far, and they were trying to show some visibility from Route 1, they needed a much larger sign with much larger letters. The reason they had to get the waiver was because there was an ordinance provision that said if within a certain distance of a right-of-way, was a certain dimension. And 101 was literally within a certain distance of an interior road that had very little traffic. And the sign wasn't oriented that way, but the technicality was they were in that distance. So they had to get the sign area and letters were much smaller than otherwise would be permitted. That's why they needed the waivers. So that's what this is all about. Quite straightforward.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution PB 24-11 SW.
So
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Simon beat you there. So Simon, motion by Simon, second
second.
by Jorica. Please call the roll for a vote.
Yes.
Mr. Canfield,
Yes.
Yes.
Ari,
Yes.
Mayor Marquez,
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'm a yes. Did everybody else get called?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah. You correct. I check. I have the list.
I'm sorry, I was absent.
Yeah. There it is. You are voting on the resolution.
Yeah, the resolution.
You are not.
Wait a second.
My paper, Papsi.
That's why I didn't see it. Okay, sorry, I abstained. Thank you. Okay, next up is ordinance referral from Township Council 2025-01. Who wants to summarize this? David, you're up.
So good evening, everybody. Do I need to get sworn in for this?
No.
Okay. I'll promise to tell the truth anyway. Good evening, everybody. My name is David Novak with Burgess Associates. Tonight, we have an ordinance from referral from the council. It is ordinance 2025-1. It was an ordinance that was prepared pursuant to a settlement agreement pertaining to the RP1 district. What this ordinance does is that it establishes pet daycare facilities as a permitted use within that district, and then creates new regulations, specifically intensity bulk regulations that deal with the parameters around which those pet daycare facilities can occur. If those standards look familiar, it's because they are largely borrowed from other zoning districts in the municipality, with some changes made based on the geographic location of the RP1 district, understanding that's a mixed use environment where things might be a little bit closer and tighter together as opposed to, say, something along Route 1. These parameters include soundproofing requirements, having certain construction requirements to make sure that animals are secure and safe from injury and escape, ventilation requirements, housing requirements. Should there be an outdoor area, animals must be kept indoors overnight, requiring provisions be made for the removal and proper disposal of animal food, waste, and bedding and debris, and not permitting any outdoor facilities as well due to the mixed use environment of the type of use here. For a consistency review like this, essentially the board has two things to look at. One, whether or not this ordinance is inconsistent with our master plan, as well as any recommendations that you think are relevant to try to fix those inconsistencies. From a master planning perspective, this is located in the RP1 Princeton Junction redevelopment plan land use category, which is, as the name suggests, associated with the RP1 district. The intent of that district is to create a core residential, commercial uses, including retail, office space, which can be designed as a distinctive walkable center with a sense of place for the Princeton Junction community. That being said, I don't think there's anything that would be inconsistent with this ordinance. and the land use plan's vision for the RP1 district. That's essentially it. It's a relatively short ordinance, and as I said, was prepared pursuant to a settlement agreement.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah,
So it's a daycare facility, right? So by the, the definition of the name itself, it's only during the day that the pets will be kept there.
No,
Or-
we actually have two different definitions in our ordinance for pet daycare facility and kennel. A pet daycare facility does allow for overnight stays. And that's something that's actually relatively common with a lot of these pet daycare facilities, or they call them doggy hotels or whatever the fancy name might be. The main difference between a pet daycare facility and a kennel in our ordinance, at least, is that kennels also include breeding, and breeding would not obviously be allowed at a pet daycare facility. But you are allowed to have stays overnight with a pet daycare facility.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
and not out of the ordinary what we see in the market.
So if they're allowed to stay overnight, then how can you not have outdoor facilities? So basically the pets are not being let out at all? I mean, how
No.
would they do their business?
They would have to be doing the business indoors. One of the
I
concerns.
have a dog
Mhm.
and I've had him for 4 years, and I mean, I don't know of any dog who doesn't need to get out and.
no, it's overnight. You can't leave the dog out overnight. It doesn't, it says 9 PM to 8 AM.
No,
Yeah, no outdoor facilities are permitted though. That was one of the recommendations, I believe, of the health officer, to keep everything indoors.
how does that work?
And the developer in this case is Avalon. That's the project where it's going to go in. One of their similar mixed-use developments up in North Jersey. They have a similar use in there, and everything's contained within the building. It's a similar use that wants to come in here. They're going to have to come in front of the planning board because it's a change of use. So they're going to need to get a minor site plan approval. A lot of good questions. You can ask them how they're going to do it.
Right.
But we vetted this ordinance with Avalon and with their preferred user coming in, and they're fine. They can comply with this code.
The vet that we approved, they have an outdoor facility
They do, yes.
next to Starbucks.
Yep. Veg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not for the animals for a run. It's just for them to quickly go out to do their business, and then they're brought in. So there's no outdoor run. for
Okay,
the-
it just seems like to Jodica's question, it just seems like it'd be more appropriate to have outdoor facility for doggy daycare than for
Just
vet.
wait, yeah.
Health officer says no because of this specific location.
for this location.
In
Okay.
this location here, because it would be on the promenade would be the front, and then the back area would open up into an courtyard where there's a swimming pool and things.
Oh,
like that.
okay.
So
Okay,
Right, you
okay,
can't do
so if it was in a different location that was, it kind of like made sense, then you probably would.
Oh,
As-
yeah.
as-
For example, in a PCD district,
Right.
we allow for these types of uses and we establish regulations for outdoor facilities.
Oh, okay.
So
That makes
it's only because of this unique location right next to the train station in a mixed use environment. There was concern about having an outdoor facility and how you deal with waste.
So having a yard, an enclosed yard would also count as an outdoor facility?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So they-
the vet next to Starbucks has a fenced in outdoor facility.
But as you rightly said, for a vet, they don't need to have an outdoor facility because you're not going to leave the pet there overnight.
Right, but I could see why you wouldn't want it here because it's near a swimming pool and then you have dog waste all day. The wind blows a certain way, the people in the swimming pool are gonna leave.
Right, I understand that part, but I don't know how the pet would be taken care of.
They'll have to have an indoor facility where they do their business and then they'll clean it up
Yeah.
indoors.
It's a good question to ask.
You can't make the dog go if they don't want to go to the side.
Oh,
That's where the training comes in. You gotta train them and go in this spot. Okay,
Okay, all right.
okay,
I got a question.
okay, go ahead.
Since you are our planner, is this ordinance in compliance with our master plan?
oh, yes, yes. It's the key is to see whether or not the ordinance is inconsistent with our master plan, right? So it doesn't need to be consistent. It just needs to be not inconsistent, which is a very important double negative. In this case, I do believe that is not inconsistent with our master plan. We do try to encourage in that district a walkable neighborhood that's mixed use. Putting aside the outdoor facility aspect, for the amount of units that are going there, having this type of facility there right next to the train station, I think makes a lot of sense for a
Yeah.
mixed use environment. People that might not want to leave their pet there overnight or by themselves while during the workday or every day will now have that opportunity to, drop their pet off. So it seems to be a very complementary use for that district.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Any other questions, changes, needs, or whatever? You can't change it, it's referral. But any other questions? Okay.
So as a planning board, our job is to review it and do what exactly?
See if it's inconsistent with our master plan, because you can always disagree with me. And then if
No, but that's what you
if
would
we
do,
if
right?
we
yeah. But if you think it is inconsistent, you can offer recommendations to the council
Right.
to try to remedy those inconsistencies, as well as anything else you really see relevant. So that's basically your role as a planning board is twofold: see if it's inconsistent, and then offer recommendations to the ordinance.
So then as I pointed out, that you would need an outdoor facility for a pet daycare, how does that play into the review of the ordinance?
And if the rest of the board feels the same way, that recommendation can be made to the council. One thing I would caution is that this was an ordinance prepared pursuant to a settlement agreement. So it does get a little bit more difficult to amend an ordinance that's been prepared pursuant to a settlement agreement.
And how officer specifically does not want. So.
That request
If-
came from the township staff, yes.
Jonica,
I mean, I wouldn't be dropping my pet there in a hurry, and I know pretty much everybody I know who has a pet wouldn't be taking their pet to a daycare that doesn't have an outdoor facility for the pet to use. That I just seems to be inconsistent from that point of view. Otherwise, I don't have a problem
if
with.
it was in a different area, it would have an outdoor facility, but
That's fine.
and they
of course.
negotiated with Avalon, right?
Yeah.
So they accepted it and they feel that, that it works for that spot, that place. So no, I agree with you that there should be an outdoor facility, but there's reasons why there is none here.
Right. Okay, thank you.
That location is part of that retail space on the promenade?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to, was it to accept the referral, Jerry?
So moved.
No, it's defined that it's not substantially inconsistent with the master plan.
I'll entertain a motion that the
Make it
referral is
positive
not,
that it is consistent.
that is consistent with the master plan and that no recommendations for
right,
changes.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Alan, makes a motion to accept the referral as is.
I'll second it.
Simon seconds. Can you please call the roll?
Mr. Patel,
Yes.
Mr. Sheftel,
Yes.
Mr. Panko,
Yes.
Mr. Baig,
Yes.
Ms. Barre,
Yes.
Mayor Marte,
Yes.
Chairman Carp.
Yes.
Jerry. Memo the same. Sure. The public hearing on this, March 3rd.
Okay. Was there an affordable housing memo for this meeting or no? No. Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay. Okay, next up is the application for PB 19-13 Second Amendment, Senior Living at Bear Creek amended final site plan, MLUL 2/2025. Okay, hi, good evening.
Rather than nice, I could see it.
Well, it's certainly convenient that you have that, and this way you can just look and remember where you're from. In any event, proof of publication and service are in order, and the board has jurisdiction.
Thank you.
Because he's been involved with this application in one way or another. If you remember, cross street, we had single family. Who was that? That was Lenore built that, yeah.
Cole Brothers?
Well, I thought it was before, but okay. So anyway, the first resolution that Jerry prepared was in 1996. So he's very familiar, I think, with this application.
This is,
96.
is that a new record for you, Jerry? 28 years?
Oh, I was right after he
30
passed
years,
the bar.
30, almost 30.
Probably not.
The property that we're talking about, 28 acres, it's in the planned residential retirement community zone, at frontage on both Old Trenton Road and Village Road East. It's designated in tax records as block 33 lots 1.021 and 1.022. The entrance is the Esplanade Drive, which I think they're all familiar with. In 2009, this was submitted with condominium form of ownership, so we have, as I said, the tax records refer to two different lots. They're really they're not lots, but that's how the tax assessment refers to them. They're both part of lot 1.02. Probably need to get the mistake. Stand over there. So the applicant is the owner of the IL condominium unit. That's the independent living unit. The owner of the AL unit has consented to us proceeding with this application. We have a little tiny bit of work to do on their condominium unit within their common elements. Again, we're seeking second amended final site plan approval. This relates solely to the independent living facility, with the exception of the tiny improvement on the common elements of the assisted living site. This application is limited to architectural changes to the building and minor changes to the site improvements approved by the amended final site plan will be granted in 2023. That's the last resolution that relates to this property. The changes allow us, and you'll hear briefly about this, allow us to remain competitive in this market, which is the referred to even in Mr. Novak's one of the reports as high-end assisted living facility. This application does not involve the addition of any market rate affordable units. There's no increase in the size of the building, no increase in lot coverage. There are no variances. There are no new waivers. We've had a series of waivers related to the amount of parking on the site. So this is the only waiver that I'm aware of is to in effect modify that waiver to accommodate the increased level of parking. The changes are to maintain this competitive project. And there are other high-end assisted living facilities in the region that have increased their amenities, and so we're, in order to remain competitive, we're proposing to increase ours and seeking your approval. The changes including raising the building several feet to accommodate below ground parking in a garage. Apparently, that's one of the new amenities. Also, we have relating to that, we have grading changes, again, partially on the common elements of the assisted living unit in order to connect our entrance road to Esplanade Drive in Grove. The independent living unit will now have a pavilion in lieu of the students for the room. And that was a patio, and we'll hear briefly about that. Surface parking areas have been reconfigured, not expanded, but reconfigured.
we can go through that maybe really quickly. That was done to improve traffic flow, and we also added another amenity, which is 24 above ground garages, which because of the design of those actually increases the number of parking spaces for purposes of your count by 48 units. I used to have I used to have a podium here, and it was a little bit better than this. I think Fran probably. You were second. You were second. Okay. All right. So that is a general overview of the changes. You'll hear more about it from the various witnesses. We did get early in this process, we filed sometime in early December. We got a series of review memos from all your professionals in January. Our engineer, Daphne Galvin, issued a letter of report on January 24, responding to the comments in all those memos. We've since gotten new memos, all of those are dated in February. I'm happy to report that your fire code official or fire chief, Mr. Lynn, says in his most recent memo he's satisfied all his comments. That's also true with regard to the traffic comments. That report is dated February 14th, and it was indicated we absolutely addressed all of the traffic engineers' comments. We have 5 people here available for testimony.
Yeah.
And not all of them will be called initially, or if there are questions, they can be brought up, qualified, and to answer questions. But our first witness is going to be Anthony Masuka, who is here before this board on this application, fire administration building, assisted living. Independent.
I was going to swear you, big one.
Anthony Black, pretty real, he's the agent for the owner of the assisted living condominium in Ben Zeit. Now he'll bring, all right. The order of record. Yeah. Sam, would you come over and sit like him? Yes. Yeah. Honor right. Okay. Sorry. I didn't mean to argue with my. He's going to briefly describe what Mr. Novak explained in his memo that the townships has housing element and fair share plan envision development on this site of a high-end independent living facility. Again, it consists of 220 units, including 55 affordable. And he'll also briefly talk about the need for the enhanced amenity package that we're proposing in order to be able to remain competitive in the market. We also have our engineer here. She'll provide expert testimony. She'll talk first about existing conditions on the premises, both condominium units, to modify the configuration of the parking, including the additional spaces in the garage. And she'll talk about the other enhanced on-site amenities. Our third witness is Steve Cullen, the project architect. And he'll go through the design of the building, just to refresh the recollection, and then he'll take you through the changes that we're proposing, which mainly involve the enhancements to the amount of parking and the expanded outdoor and indoor amenities. Our traffic consultant here and is available to testify. I think our engineer is going to talk briefly about the parking waiver. But if there are any questions that go beyond her testimony, our traffic consultant, Carl Penke, a resident of Warren of Westminster Township this year. We also have a landscape architect. I think to the extent that I'm aware of one issue that we might have to respond to on landscaping, and I think our engineer will try to do that. If there are any further questions, our landscape architect, Jill Suter, is in attendance. We also have in attendance Craig Von Camp, who can talk to you about the need for the enhancements to remain competitive, if that becomes something that you want to get more detail from him. So that's my general overview, and unless there are any questions.
I have a question for you. You mentioned Chief Lynch's memo,
Yeah.
right? So this is the memo from Chief Lynch dated February 18th.
Yeah.
And you agreed to all his bullet points, water supply for fire protection. There should be a hydrant located within 100 feet of proposed connection, and then lock boxes. And then there's something about standpipes in each stair tower. So everything has been agreed
So
to.
as it said at the bottom, they've all been agreed to.
Just want to make sure, I read it into the record. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Frank, I'm going to swear in all your witnesses and potential witnesses. If they could, yeah, let's do it all at once. If everybody could stand, please. Okay, if you could raise your right hand. Let's start with Anthony. And just, first, do you swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give will be the truth? So sworn or affirmed. And then if you can go around, starting with Anthony, and give your full name, spell your last name. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, it's fine. Okay.
Thank you.
Craig Redcamp, I'll spell both, Creigh. Redcamp, Rahenka.
Thank you.
Carl Benke, Carl McKay, Benke. Will Suter, SWTER.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Please call your first witness.
Ask Anthony to come forward, and he has some brief comments. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Jerry, I was at that meeting, 1996, as you well know.
No.
We're here. There's a slight modification to the plan to meet the competition that is taking place. As I'm sure all of you are aware, within West Windsor, surrounding towns, the genre of over 55 plus housing is growing, and it's in many forms, condominiums, villas, townhouses, so forth and so on. And we need to compete in that market. This has always been positioned as a high-end product, and so we felt that the need to create the opportunity for public parking, particularly in this winter. It's apropos, we're going to get snow on Thursday, I understand. That people who can afford it and choose to will want the opportunity to have public parking. So therefore we're raised the building slightly, put parking underneath the building, and put parking outside. And as since we can't mandate them use it, we've had to require some still has to have outside parking, and we can't force affordable affordable tenants to use it, to pay for it. So it isn't available. We have added some amenities like, which are open to all the residents. A large gym, an indoor pool as well as an outdoor pool. Different card rooms and game room, a small television room where we can, a movie theater type of facility for sports and for different events that may be used. And since parties and so forth are more seem to be more involved now, we've got through a period. Remember, 2020 we had the warming kitchen and we get all that stuff. 2022 we took it up. Now the market demands that we reuse. So we're not. It's not something new. It's something we bring inside the building that we reuse. But the thing is that the building itself still has. Let's do affordable units, 69 market units. We haven't changed the unit count. We haven't changed the unit benefit count. Still the same monthly. And
Anthony, the pools new? Are the pools new or had they been in the prior? Thank you.
that's great. And
What's the number 24 garage parking outside? What this number comes up? You have 24 garage parking outside on the surface.
Garage park.
Garage parking.
Why garage parking?
Yes.
Well, there are different kinds of parking. There may be park areas where people have an SUV. They don't want to put it underneath the building. It just provides some, so a few other units that are slightly different. That's all.
In terms of the parking, the underground parking, that's open to everybody, or are they assigned spaces?
There'll be not assigned spaces. People will rent those spaces.
Oh, underground, they'll be renting the
Yes,
spaces,
yes.
and of course the garages will be rented
And
as well.
yeah,
Is the underground parking heated or air conditioned?
no,
It's not.
that presents a lot of other problems. So,
Just asking.
So if there's no assigned parking, so there's 48 spaces underground, is that right? How many spaces underground?
I don't remember. Steve Cohen will.
Okay, so there's X number of spots underground. You can issue that many permits, right? And so it's first come, first serve. You got a permit, you go underground, you
Right.
pull into a space. Okay,
Property management, work it out, to avoid, so long as nobody is going to carry a weapon, we can work those problems out.
okay, so okay, I understand.
Number of spaces in the below grade.
Yeah.
160.
So it's an underground garage with 168, you said? Okay, so they issue that many permits and that's almost one per unit, right?
Almost.
Okay,
That doesn't mean that they will all use it, and it doesn't mean that the board can't pay.
right, I understand. Yeah, everybody has different things they prioritize in what they want to spend on. They rather live in a studio, but park their Lamborghini underground.
And the affordable units will be paying the same rate as the market rate units?
Or
For parking.
I believe so, yes. I don't know how that works. I have to see if there's some. Prior to
Okay,
I think there's
Yeah.
required reduction.
I'm sorry?
I think there would typically be a required reduction. I don't know the answer to that.
It's voluntary. And
No, maybe, all right, I could be wrong then.
I don't know.
Are there electric vehicle spots underground as well as on your surface parking?
issue in terms of.
Let's put that.
Yeah, there's an issue. There are some safety issues that we have to do in terms of charging underground, but I'll let, Ms. Galvin deal with that.
Okay, but I'm just curious if there are electric vehicle spaces underground as well as surface parking, or there's only some on the surface parking, or just there's some underground.
Surface parking,
Okay.
because of safety issues.
For the safety issue, okay, fine. So for example, if I'm a resident there and I own an electric vehicle, the only place that I could charge it would be on a surface lot.
Yeah.
I could not charge it underground.
Let's let the,
Okay,
Other ways.
all right, fine.
So I just have a question for you, David. With the affordable housing.
Mhm.
Oh, do you want to swear?
Yeah, why don't I swear in all our staff? If you could raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give the truth?
I do.
Please state your full name and just state your full name.
Francis Guzik, Township Engineer.
David Novak, Board Planner.
Okay, so the question, David, is this, if they're affordable housing people are want to park underground and they're paying the same rate as the market rate,
Mhm.
does that comport with code regulations and
I
rules?
believe it would actually. I'm also looking at Ed Snikes here because he deals with affordable housing as well.
I'm sorry.
I'm looking at Ed Snikes because he's a planner and deals with affordable housing as well. But I think because there would be surface parking available for free, they could charge the affordable units the same rate as the market rate units if they wanted to park underneath. I think that would be permitted.
Is there, do you think that would be permitted? Is there a way to get a definitive?
Not before the end of the hearing tonight, no. But that they're going to have to conform with whatever COA and or UHAC regulations set forth
I think
anyway.
we can say that, whatever the code regulations are, will.
Okay, we'll look into that.
And I think that's only because the underground parking is like a premium as opposed to everybody has the ability to park outdoors if they want.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be the same as a HOA fee with this, where you would get reduced HOA fee for an affordable unit because it's a luxury. I think they wouldn't get a discounted fee.
So just as a hypothetical question, if people decide that they don't want to park underground,
Mhm.
what happens to the parking counts up above? Let's say you get 50% of those spaces empty.
Mhm.
Do you have enough support above?
They would either have to reduce the rate to try to entice people to park underneath the ground, or you would just have
Or they're gonna have a lot of
additional
complaints.
surface parking spaces occupied.
Pickleball.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking back in my day, New York City, housing, if you lived in a rent stabilized apartment and there was parking available, your garage was rent stabilized also.
Mhm.
Oh. Makes sense.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
By whom are you employed in what capacity? Again, state your name.
Daphne Galvin, employed by Partner Engineering and Science as the Director of Land Development.
And what is your educational background in engineering? What licenses do you hold in New Jersey and are they current?
Sure. So I have a Bachelor of Science, a degree in Civil Engineering, and also a graduate certificate in Project Management from NJIT. I obtained my professional engineering license in New Jersey in 1989, and it is current.
Okay. Have you previously appeared before this board?
I have, in the original site plan application, well, the more recent site plan application of 2020, and then the first amendment in 2022.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, we're offering Ms. Blackman is, I keep saying that because I'm gonna tell you, because my daughter works for Rita Black, so I get it confused.
Okay.
We're going to offer Daphne as an expert in engineering, and she accepted.
Yes, unless anybody had, yes.
Okay, couple of quick questions. Did you prepare or supervise the preparation of the amended final site plan dated May 2019, last revised January 20, 2025, and consisting of 18 pages?
Yes,
Did you prepare or supervise the preparation of the stormwater management report dated July 10, 2019, last revised January 20, 2025?
yes,
And did you prepare or supervise the preparation of the operations and maintenance manual dated November 11, 2019, last revised January 20, 2025?
yes,
And did you prepare the letter date or supervise the preparation of the letter dated January 22, 2025, responding to the township's review memoranda issued in January 2021?
yes,
Okay. So we're going to have a non question, Q&A. I think Daphne we've talked about what we need to go through in her presentation and to make it go as quickly as possible. So we're not here when it starts to snow. I don't know what happened to the snow. We were supposed to get 12 inches today. Anyway, if you could go through your script for the board and give me that chance and Mr. Muller a chance to mark and have exhibits submitted into.
12 miles.
I think you only have one.
Windsor.
yeah.
12 inches of snow. I know.
So this is sheet 4 of 18. Oh, thank you. So this is sheet 4 of 18 of the site plan set that was submitted to the board. The original date being May 3rd of 2019, and then revised through January 20th of 2025. Just to orientate everybody to the application, easiest place to start is the intersection of Old Trenton Road and Village Road East, which is on the right side of the sheet. To the south of the project is the hamlet at Bear Creek. To the east of the project is the hamlet at Bear Creek. To the south is preserved farmland, which is actually dedicated as part of the original Bear Creek project. On the opposite side of Old Trenton Road is a residential subdivision. And then to the north of the site is the Villages of Bear Creek subdivision.
Since it's part of the plan set, I don't think it has to be not marked as a separate. Yeah, right, just as long as Daphne identifies.
Can you point out where Bear Creek Assisted Living is currently on your plan and where this site is in relationship to that?
Sure. The existing assisted living facility is adjacent to Old Trenton Road. So that's located right here. Again, Old Trenton Road up along the top of the sheet, and the stormwater management basin up in the upper left corner. And the proposed development for the independent living community is to the east of the existing assisted living facility.
Okay, so it's in that area. If you drive into Bear Creek, there are some road stubs in there.
Correct. As you drive in the main entrance drive off of Village Road East, you would typically turn to the right to get to the assisted living facility. If you go straight, you run into a stub road towards the south end of the project. There's also a driveway about midway along that part of the roadway that takes you into the hamlet development.
Is that site plan also at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Village Road, or is it just in that area between a Bear Creek Assisted Living and the hamlet?
That's correct. The assisted living facility is in this location right here, and the undeveloped parcel, which is surrounded by the loop road on 3 sides and the assisted living facility to the west, that's what's being developed for this application.
Okay, so that corner area is not being developed.
No, the corner right over at the corner here is actually part of the independent living, I'm sorry, the assisted living lot
Okay.
at the actual corner,
Part of the unit.
the assisted living condominium unit. Yes. Okay, I think we covered most of that now. You want me to talk about the changes next? Should we move on to the changes that are proposed? I think we've got everybody orientated. Okay. Yeah. So with respect to the changes that are proposed, Mr. Cohen is going to go through the changes to the building. However, I did want to note that there's no changes to the footprint of the building. The size of the building stays the same. There's an underground, a lower level space that has been added, which again, he'll talk about in detail. From a site perspective, the main change to the development is the configuration of the parking lots, the two main parking lots in front of the building. The previous application had both of those parking lots in a curvilinear alignment. That's been modified to improve the circulation and now is just a rectangular alignment. In addition to those surface parking lots, there are freestanding garages at the east end of those parking lots up against the loop road. Each one of those garages contains 12 parking stalls. So a total of 24 parking spaces within those freestanding garages. And then immediately adjacent to those garage stalls are parking spaces. So there's a total of 24 spaces then at each end associated with the garages. Now those spaces by the township definition would be considered tandem spaces because the spaces within the garage only have access to a driveway aisle through another space. Tandem spaces aren't allowed by ordinance unless it's associated with employee parking and valet parking. But in this case, both the garage stall and the parking space behind it would be assigned to a single unit. So they essentially function as a valet space or an employee space in that those spaces are not open to the general parking. They're specifically assigned to a unit. That's correct.
Rent the garage space?
Excuse me?
You rent the garage space? You do rent it, right?
The garage spaces
Yeah.
will be rented, correct? The freestanding garage spaces will be rented.
The other space which is tandem to it, is that rented as well or not?
The space immediately behind the garage stall is also rented because it's to the same unit. Yes, it's the same unit. So it's part of the rental. You get the two spaces. You get the garage and the space behind it.
Just get these two spaces.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
you block,
that's the
you block the
configuration.
car, you block the car that's in the garage with the space that's outside?
Yeah.
You have two cars?
Yes,
Okay. And so, okay, so you rent both spaces, okay.
You were mentioning about employees. Will there be employees associated with this facility? And if so, where will they park?
in general, the parking for the employees is in the back where there's also parking for the cafe. There's a small parking lot in the rear of the building. That's for employees, and for the cafe, there's a small cafe in the building. So there's parking in the rear. And that's not changing. That was previously approved.
If you're gonna go and park it together.
Sure.
That's what that word maybe too. So just to be clear, because I said it, but I wasn't under oath and I wasn't tested. No additional market rate or affordable volumes are proposed.
Correct.
There's no increase in building and lot coverage, correct?
No, in fact, there's a slight decrease in lot coverage as a result of the amendments.
No variances are being requested in conjunction with the changes.
Correct?
And the only design waiver is not a new design waiver, but it's I'll call a modification to prior design waiver set the plan for the total number of parking spaces.
Correct.
All right, leave me alone.
Okay, I'm going to talk about the parking, all the counts for the parking.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the previous application, within these two main parking lots, there were a total of 234 spaces proposed and approved. With these modifications, there are a total of 188 spaces in the parking lot, plus the spaces associated with the garage and the space directly behind the garage. And that brings the total for the parking outside of the building to 212 spaces. So it was originally 234, it's now 212. In addition to the parking spaces at the surface and in these garages, there are underground garage spaces, which will be discussed in more detail by the architect. But there's a total of 168 spaces in the lower level of the building that would get added to the 212 spaces for a total of 380 spaces associated with the residential use of the building.
Where is the entrance to the basement parking?
Right, the entrances, there's actually 4 entrances because of the way the building is configured. There's 4 separate areas for underground parking. There's an entrance at the, call it the north end of the long wing in the building right here. Similarly, at the south end, there's an entrance drive right there. And then for the 2 smaller wings of the building, there's entry drives that come off of the parking lots. So each wing has its own separate entrance.
And what about exit? Are the exits
There,
and the entrance?
entrance, yes, access
So you
points.
have underground parking under all buildings.
The underground parking is limited to the wings, I'll call it the wings of the building. The main portion in the center is amenity space, such as the underground pool or the indoor pool. And that'll be discussed in further detail by Mr. Cohen.
Thank you.
And just to point out the small area that you're gonna make improvements on the assisted living condominium.
Sure. So one of the driveway at the north end of the building crosses over condominium line that separates the assisted living facility from the facility. It's just a very narrow strip here, just the way the condo line falls relative to the driveway. So that's the limited improvement that's on the condominium unit associated with the assisted living facility.
And that's why it's listed as part of the application.
Speaking of parking, I found a companion document to UHAC called Understanding UHAC.
Okay.
There's a question and answer section in that document. There's a question, is there a cap on fees related to parking, pets, and amenities? The answer is there is no cap on fees related to parking, pets, and amenities as they are outside the maximum sales price and rent calculations and are considered optional services. However, the fees for optional services must be the same for affordable units as for market rate units. For example, pool privileges cannot be free to market rate unit households and an extra expense for affordable unit households. Affordable unit owners must have the same access to amenities as market rate owners. Additionally, the fees for optional services cannot be part of the monthly rent and cannot be charged once the tenant has decided not to use the service. So because it's an optional service, they can charge, it just needs to be the same as whatever they charge, or it can't be any more than what they charge the market rate units.
Thank you. I knew you were coming.
Google's a wonderful thing.
This said, by the, by the way, is that around 3 regular?
Let's not get into the details.
That's around 2.
Round 2.
Yes,
The change.
Daphne,
it should be changing, but we'll wait to see what the state does.
Well, we're
if we could go back over the parking for a moment. Was that 188 surface parking spaces?
Yeah, there's 188 surface parking spaces, plus the 24 spaces that are associated with the garages, because each garage is 12 stalls, sometimes 2 is 24 spaces.
So there's
2 times
what
20.
number?
Okay,
212 spaces
Right.
outside of the main building in these 2 areas.
168 under, and then there are 12 additional for the employee parking behind the building.
Correct, so the grand total is 392 parking spaces.
Could you answer a question about why you need to increase the parking spaces from the previously approved 339 parking spaces to the current
Yeah.
number of 392?
Yeah, I think that was actually addressed by Mr. Mizuka. I think we're trying to provide additional options for parking. We have underground parking within the building itself. We have surface parking. We have garages out in the parking lot. So it's to provide additional options for parking, which is part of the higher end services at these types of facilities.
Yes, but the number has gone up as well, right?
Yeah, the
Other
overall
than
number has gone up.
variety of parking, it's also the
Right.
number of parking spaces. So why are there so many more parking spaces needed?
again, I think just to provide that availability of different options. If more people choose to be underground, then we need less parking spaces at the surface. Maybe more people want surface parking, less underground. So I think it's just to provide that flexibility. You can't. We needed the extra space to provide that flexibility.
And other communities that are competing at that type of parking arrangement, so we have to, again, we have to match up with the other high-end assisted living facilities.
Is any of these,
I mean, they're independent.
any of these parking spaces planned to be banked, or they're all going to be built out 100%?
We haven't proposed any bank parking.
You don't gain anything by banking, you still have to count them as surface parking. Even though they're not banked, they count this, correct,
Yeah, I mean, overall, the total number of spaces, total number, whether it's banked or it's.
yes.
I'm the only reason I mention it is that if you end up renting 168 spaces underground, your surface parking is going to be a lot less. And if that were the case, you could have landscaping there. But if you don't, and most of your residents have surface parking and don't want to pay for that amenity, then you have the need for the surface parking, and your underground parking you can use for other purposes.
Okay. Mr. Ron can address this, but he's later on in the
Fine,
scheme of this.
okay. I'm just
No,
curious.
it's good.
He's trying to help you out.
Thank you.
Okay, so as you had previously mentioned, there were 339 spaces previously approved, which required a design waiver for excess spaces. And we're now proposing 392 spaces for an increase to 53 spaces.
Daphne, could you say that, how many previously approved?
339,
Now it's in
2022, yeah.
I think it was the same in 20, but I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Based on the ordinance standard, the number of spaces would be 166, just based on the calculation, which is based on bedroom count. Also, we checked the parking calculation based on the residential site improvement standards, and the residential site improvement standards would allow 414 spaces. So we actually comply with the RSIS standard. Good. Another change to the building, again, will be discussed by Mr. Cullen, is that the building's been raised up 5 feet. That allows for the access to the underground space. So the building is raised up out of the ground by 5.5 feet. The lower garages, as I mentioned before, access through the 4 driveways for each of the 4 spaces that are underground.
Excuse me, what's are there height restrictions on the underground parking?
The height restriction on it.
So in other words, if I want to park my my Amazon Mercedes-Benz van underneath the parking garage, can I do that?
Mr. Cullen,
Okay, okay,
You're talking about whether there's an 8-foot limitation.
right. Or if I have a ski rack on my SUV, will it?
Can you?
You will break the ski rack.
Just one question, we're raising the building, it still meets the height limitation?
Yes.
consent,
Yeah.
Which is what?
I think the maximum height is 44 and we're at 42.
Well,
Miss-
I don't know, you don't have it, so. I think it's
well, not-
45.
And we're at 44.
At one point, Alan just had an answer group. And we're actually at the same height of that roof. We changed it to a flat roof. This is what, 44, 49, 44, 44, and an answer was 44, and the permitted height is 45.
Well, one thing that strikes me as odd about the underground parking scheme if you haven't assigned spaces to each of those garages, it's theoretical that somebody could go into the first parking area, go all the way down, not find a space. He has to come out, go around, go in again to the next one, and so on and so forth. To me, it would make sense if you did assign the spaces to the apartment units, so as to avoid these extra traffic, as you will, around it.
That's,
Yes.
yeah, so that can be accommodated.
Thank you.
One of the other changes to the site plan is to the center courtyard, in between the two wings of the building. Originally, that had some, concrete open space and a pool. The pool's gonna remain, but a pavilion building, is proposed within the courtyard area. That will also be discussed, in further detail by the architect. In that area, Mr. Snikes, I think, had asked us to add some bike racks in that area, so we'll take care of that. And I think that also addresses Mr. Guzik's comment about the number of parking spaces for bicycles on the project. The last site change is that the tennis court and pickleball courts have been reconfigured or reorientated to accommodate the changes in the parking lot, and also to allow for the tennis court to be converted to pickleball courts if that's determined to be needed at a future time. With respect to zoning standards, so the bulk standards for PRCC zone, which is under section 200-194 C1, all of those standards are met. I think I previously mentioned that there's been a slight reduction in the improvement coverage, which is essentially impervious coverage. So a very slight reduction from the previous approval in 2022. In addition, there are standards, area, height, and yard standards outlined in ordinance section 200-194 C2G. Those are complied with one exception. A variance was granted back in 2005 for the distance of the minimum front setback from a interior roadway. The requirement is 50 feet, but the variance had been granted for 24 feet. That dimension, which is located right here at the one corner of the building, was increased back in 2022 to be 33.8 feet. So it's in excess of what the variance was that was granted now 20 years ago. So that would be the only location where there's a deviation from that portion of the standards. And again, it was previously approved. As a result of the changes to the site plan, there were changes made to the landscape and lighting design. Mr. Snikes had requested some additional evergreen trees be used to supplement the landscaping along the building, which we will accommodate. In addition, he wanted us to coordinate the location of any venting from the garage with the landscaping to be sure things aren't blocked. So we'll take care of that also. And there are no other outstanding landscape comments or lighting comments from Mr. Snikes or Mr. Gusick. Fran, you were okay with the lighting? Coordinate this afternoon? Good. Okay, so no outstanding comments there.
I have a question about the lighting.
Sure.
There was no indication as to what the lighting level is going to be underground. I think it's kind of important to know what that is.
So are you referring to the lighting that's in the garage?
Yeah, underground.
Underground, okay.
Right.
So Mr. McCollum can talk about that. And then there had been a design waiver previously granted for the hours of illumination for the lighting on site. Those hours are not changed. So that design waiver will be intact. There were some minor changes to the stormwater management design as a result of the site changes, and Mr. Guzman found them acceptable. There was one utility comment in Mr. Guzman's letter that I wanted to address that had to do with the pools and discharging the pool water. So in Mr. Guzik's comment, it said that swimming pools are not permitted to discharge into the sanitary sewer system. So we had put a note on the plan that said that the pool water be taken off site. Be a little more specific about that. We'd accomplish that by pumping the pool, the outdoor pool or the indoor pool. The pool water be pumped into trucks, taken off site and discharged in accordance with whatever the applicable regulations are. With respect to the pool discharge, but it requires an approval from the health department will obtain that. I think that's it for the changes.
And in terms of stormwater management, we continue to comply with all
Yeah.
the applicable regulations.
Yeah, there was some minor changes that Mr. Guzik found acceptable.
Quick question on the parking. Electric charging available, how many spaces?
Yes, so there are electric charging spaces proposed in the parking lot. Right now, there's only one space in each of the surface parking lots. But there's gonna be additional make-ready spaces, which came up in 2022 as part of that application. But that stays consistent with what was previously approved.
Any in the underground parking area?
Mr. Cohen can talk about any EV spaces in the underground parking lot.
I have a preference for that.
Daphne, in terms of the landscaping, one was the landscaping that Ed had recommended around the buildings, and there was a second one. What was the second?
The second was that there was a concern about venting from the garage.
Oh, right.
Landscaping might block the venting.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll have to take that.
Landscape architect is here, the specific question. I think that answers something. It should raise.
Let's go over those parking standards again, that the RSI require typically, what is that, 1.8 parking spaces for 1 and better units?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact numbers. I know the total would be 414 for the building.
Okay.
But
We're below that.
I understand that RSIS maximum rather than minimum. Yeah.
Yeah. If this project, if our orders defer to RSIS, that's what the standard would be. We allow in this district 0.5 parking spaces for 1 bedroom units and 1.0 for 200 units. So that's where one of the differences is coming from this waiver request.
Very well explained to me. I think the ordinance is proceeded by RSI. Seems to be what the municipal land use law says.
Yeah, I mean, the municipalities can impose a greater parking requirement than RSI establishes. They can, based on a number of different factors, establish lower parking standards.
Exactly. Yeah.
What's the clear height and the underground parking? From basement floor to the ceiling?
Mr. Cohen will address that.
Any other
Further questions?
Any other questions? Okay, next up.
Or I guess keeping with Steve. So that's. Right. Steve,
Steve Cohen on storage.
Yeah, he's good.
Thank you.
That's in yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You got an extra little piece. Oh, you didn't get the extra little piece.
It's there.
It's
in the back. What's this? It's in the back. Last page.
You didn't get it.
Oh, you didn't get one. You online?
If you want,
Yeah, why don't I?
you can have it. Yeah, I'll take yours.
You're going to talk to us about,
What are my qualifications?
yeah, but this. Is A101, and that's part of the
set that was submitted to the township and is on file.
Yes, it is.
So this is all, we don't mark that.
Right.
Okay. Mr. Cohen, quickly go through your qualifications. By whom are you employed and what capacity?
Stephen was the architect. I'm an architect.
You got to talk into the microphone, please.
Oh, sorry. I'm employed by Stephen S. Cohen, Architect PC, and I am an architect. Principal.
Okay. What is your educational background in architecture and what licenses do you hold in New Jersey and are they current?
Okay, I have an associate degree in engineering from the State University of New York. I have a Bachelor of Architect from Kent State University in Ohio. I have currently in New Jersey a planner's license as well as an architectural license. And I'm registered in a number of other states around the country.
And your Jersey planning license is?
Everything is
remains
current.
current.
Everything is current.
Have you previously, I know the answer, but have you previously appeared before this board?
I presented this project twice before.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, again, we're offering, Mr. Cohen as an expert in architecture.
Any issues?
And then. One question, did you prepare or supervise the preparation of the architectural elevations and floor plans dated November 26th, last revised February 6th, 2025,
I did.
consisting of 11 sheets?
I did.
Okay.
Have at it. Okay, so a lot of burden here. So this, first of all, we have 3 images here of the, can we see these or should I from somewhere else? But we have 3 different images of the, excuse me. This one's, maybe hold that for just a second. So we have, we-
are on file, these are renderings, photographs.
yeah, let's mark them in exhibit A. Yeah, these images were not presented earlier. They're here this evening for presentation purposes. There are 3 different views of the building. Okay, this is a view of the side of one of the buildings that shows the entrance into the parking garage. And there are 4, these are the, as Ms. Galvin talked about, there are entrances at the north and south end. They'll be consistent in design with an arched top, but they're just at the ends of the building. Yeah.
A1.
Okay, yep.
Okay. Let's identify that one.
Okay.
That's the third.
Because of cars.
Yeah, there's a car there. That's the first one.
Okay.
That's this one. Yeah, there's this one. This is A1.
This is A1.
No, this is it. Right here.
No.
Yeah.
The gold one, the gold car is A1.
No,
Yes. The one he has in his hand, that's A1, right?
This is A1.
Gold
Oh,
car.
okay, okay.
Except for gold car.
Thank you. That's A1. Let's go to A2.
this shot of the entry canopy. And again, the 2 buildings are symmetrical. They have the same type of entry drop-off areas. Yeah, down here.
RA2.
Yep. Yeah. And the side, the garage entrance, in this case is the same, just a different view of the one we had here. Same truck.
A2.
Yes. And the last image is just a view
of the entry corner with a canopy area. You can see it, I guess, a little clearer in this other rendering, but the issue is that we had a larger porte cochere previously, and we changed it to make it simpler and more open. So that's the revision in this case.
So this is A3.
So the basic building that you're showing is essentially the same as previous.
Yes, the only,
That's
yeah, well, the mansard roof was two submissions ago. This last submission was basically this building. The only difference between that submission and this is the added height to get the garage parking beneath it.
And that's another question I have about the height. It's arch. I'm assuming that the middle is the highest, but the sides, that would accommodate minimum minimum requirements.
Well, this is not an open garage. This garage will be mechanically ventilated, so there's no, we put the openings in there basically for natural light.
No, I'm talking about the actual, what is the minimum standard?
Oh, 7 feet,
So it'll be 7 foot unit.
7 foot at the low point.
Okay.
But just to go further on this, that was one, I believe that was one of the Burgess memo
Are you
questions.
gonna have HVAC on the roof?
Yes, we are.
And are
And
they gonna be hidden?
yes, it is. It's consistent with our last submission. We have a parapet on the building, and the last sheet in my set has at the bottom has a diagram taken from the road looking towards the building, and the site angle is such the equipment is ganged in the center of the building, so it won't be visible from the street.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Let's go through.
Okay, so this first sheet, this has 2 items on it that we changed. That were shown originally, and then this plan shows a number of things. It shows the parking beneath the building on both legs. It shows a revised entry canopy. It shows the amenity space, the enclosed amenity space at the first level, the entry level to the building. And this parking, the parking, by the way, is 5.5 feet below this level. And then the last thing is the lower level amenity space that we added. We have an indoor pool. We have different function rooms, meeting rooms, et cetera. Again, as Mr. Mizuka said, to keep this building consistent with other development. So there are spaces in here that are unassigned. That was one of the questions. And the reason that happens is the changing population in these buildings. Sometimes people want other things. Somebody might want a wood shop. Somebody might want a card room. So you have certain spaces that you don't assign, that you leave open, that you can use for various functions. Club room, somebody may have a sewing club or a car, just different functions. And quite frankly, you have this space below grade and this space at grade. Trying to cut a room out of here doesn't necessarily save you any money. You might as well put the space in and have that available for functions. So that's this first sheet shows the parking, the canopies, and the amenity space at both levels.
You see above the ground, is that what is visible above ground? Just that?
No, this isn't visible above ground. This is below ground. The only visibility of this from the back of the building is, and it's on the elevations in the submission. It's got a clear story window in here that allows natural light into that pool area.
So this structure, the drawing at the bottom,
Yes,
this one, which part of this is visible above ground
this section sits under this section.
under that section?
This is at ground. This is at grade. This is below.
What about the arms?
These arms,
Yeah.
they're parking in there.
So
They're basically midway between, this is midway between this and this. So this is 5.5 feet down. And these are at grade. So this is 5.5 feet. This is effectively, let's call it 0. And this is 10 feet below grade. So you have this, the lowest level is this, then you have the parking level at a midpoint, and then you have the amenity space on the first level.
This picture is not exactly how it's going to be, right? Because is this building going to be there?
That rendering is taken looking this way in this building. So the entryway is here. The canopy is here. This level, as I said, is half the distance. So this is grade. This is 5.5 feet down, which is what that shows. It splits it. It just splits it. It seems to all work together. I hope. No, it does work together.
Hey, Steve, is this part of the plan set?
Excuse me?
Is this part of the plan set?
Yes.
Yes.
All these are in the set.
But I'm going to have them marked anyway because they're part of the submission, the handout that you gave to everybody. I think it'd be a little easier. So this will be A4. Yeah, and it's sheet A101.
You ready for the next sheet?
I am.
Historically,
Yes.
you're okay with what his explanation? This is underground.
Okay.
Part that's above
Alright.
ground, and this is the underground.
Yes, thank you.
This is a very simple drawing. This shows one of the 12-car freestanding garages that sits in the parking lot. They have a slightly sloped roof, so they're not too high. And they're just very simple. The exterior materials match the materials of the building, and color-wise, they'll be consistent. The way the site is, they step up. There's just some grading issues, so the garages step up.
I just have a question about the basement plan. I noticed in the recreational areas,
Yes.
there are certain services that I'm sure that people are to be paying for. For example, it says a salon, sauna.
The sauna they won't pay for, but the salon they might.
Salon. So my question, not necessarily for you, but David, are those are permitted uses permitted?
Yes, absolutely.
And even if it were subject, like to allow outside people from the developers to go in there,
No, those services are,
the residents.
residents. There might have been an agreement in the last resolution that other people in the RRC areas to be able to kind of use different facilities together, but no, they're not. You get facilities open.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Muller, A 1.04 is A5.
Okay. This drawing, a 1.05, is what we call the pavilion. Originally, in the center courtyard, we had a large open patio area. Based on discussions with Mr. Mizuka and others, we decided to create this pavilion, which is basically just additional common area for activities. And it's basically material, well, it's got a large common room. It has a gathering space in the center. They can use this for activities. It has a yoga room. It has lockers and showers, which are available to the pool. It has a small area we call a canteen. The outdoor pools in use. There's all the equipment. Bathrooms serve both the pavilion and the pool itself. This is the large activity room, can be divided in half, and the primary, in this case, the materials again to the extent that we have solid walls, they'll match the material and colors of the building. And the rest of this is the doors are glass, and there's a lot of glass in the building to keep that very open. The height of it is, and I didn't put it on this drawing, but it's 14 feet to the top, which allows for a 12-foot ceiling in the rooms to make them, again, light and airy, and then the roof is flat. And so that's the pavilion area that we talked about.
Okay, and just for the record, that's sheet A 1.05 and it's A6.
It is.
Yeah.
Gotta be a little faster.
Mr. Cohen, would the flat roof present a problem with snow?
Well, it's slightly sloped. First of all, your question is, yes, I mean, flat roofs and snow are not great to know, but there's enough drainage on the roof. And we do make this, we don't have a dead level roof. We have a slightly sloping roof. So snow will accumulate on the roof, but structurally it won't be an issue. You know, we've got basically space for 2 feet of structure there, which is more than enough to support that roof.
So the next sheet is A
1.06. This is a roof plan, and I think you asked about the equipment. So this shows the equipment located basically in roughly the center of the building. The units themselves will be heated and cooled with electric split system heat pumps, which require a roof mounted condenser. Those condensers are 44 inches high. They'll be on the roof itself. This diagram shows the sight line from the street looking towards the building. There's more than enough parapet to screen all that equipment.
So there are separate condensers for each unit or?
Well, they're actually, yes, they're generally one per unit. The way these systems work, these are wall mounted
Yeah.
cassettes in each room. And generally you can put 4 wall mounted cassettes to 1 rooftop condenser. So there'll be effectively
each
one
one
per
will-
unit.
So it'll be each unit has their own.
Exactly. And these are individually metered and things like that.
And what about the hallways? How is that?
There'll be another unit, there'll be a common makeup air unit for the hallways. But again, those units won't exceed the height of these units and they'll be closer to the center. So they'll be, and quite frankly, if we get to the point that we feel we have a unit that might be too high based on this, we'll put a screen around it. That's all. I don't think we'll have one, but if we do, then we'll put a decorative screen around it.
So the screen match the building color.
It'll match the building color. Yeah, the material will be different, but it'll be match the building color. Yeah. Okay, let's A1.
So that's A7 we were just talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Muller, we're up to A7.
A8,
Now we're up to A8.
This is A7. Next one will be A8.
right.
Okay. And this is the last sheet. This is basically
Let's just identify it's A
A203.
002.
Okay, and this is one of the elevation sheets that was included in the overall drawings that was submitted. I put this in here just to show how the garage, the end access to the garage is, the center access to the garage, and then the archways at each opening. Now, as I said in the Burgess memo, they questioned how will the garage have mechanical ventilation? The requirement is an open garage effectively has to have 50% of the wall opening open. And we don't. So this will be mechanically ventilated. These openings are decorative. They'll let natural light into the garage. A question of garage lighting, I think you brought up.
Yes.
The garage, the there'll be, again, wall mounted lighting adjacent to the entries. But in the garage themselves, there'll be surface mounted lights, which you won't see the light source because it'll be up in the structure. And the light level in the garage will be kept at a minimum in the evening. And then a higher light intensity will be on motion sensors when someone pulls into the garage. But in any case, the minimum foot candles required for a garage, an enclosed garage, that's what we'll go for. We're not going to go, we'll just provide a safe operating light level within that garage on a motion detector.
And what's the minimum?
Excuse me?
What's the minimum? What's the level?
I don't know the answer to that right now, but that's easy. I can work that out with Mr.
Okay.
Gusick or Mr. Burgess.
What's the height of your underground garage? You said 5 feet below grade.
It's 5.5 feet below grade and it's 11.5 feet. So there'll probably be a 10-foot ceiling in the garage. The garage requirement is 7-foot clear. Again, the garage will be sprinkled as well. So there'll be sprinkler piping. There'll be a dry sprinkler system in there.
So just getting back to the lights again. Car pulls in, there's already a minimum light level, which you don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And then as the car progresses, lights are gonna go on.
The lights are gonna,
It'll be
once you pass through the opening, that leg of the building will light up.
The entire.
Yes. Yes.
It's not like going,
No, you don't want to stagger it. It'll be
yeah,
confusing.
So what's the clear height under the garage? From
I'm sorry?
clear height under the garage, what the clear height from floor to the ceiling?
The floor to the ceiling is going to be probably 11 feet, but the minimum height to any projections in the garage, any ductwork for the ventilation or any sprinkler system has to be a minimum of 7 feet.
Cannot be 11 feet because you show first floor.
Probably be 10 feet.
And.
I think we
parking
show it on the-
minus 5 feet 0. So maximum you have 10 feet 6.
10.6.
But that's from top of the floor to the top of the basement. So you have the floor.
I have
thickness.
six up and 5.5 down. So I'm 11.5 feet floor to floor from garage floor to first floor, less structure. So I'll be 10 feet.
You have elevator banks throughout your garages
We have 4 elevators in the building.
to be able to walk from your car to these elevators?
On the first sheet, there are 4 elevators, 2 in each building, that have front and rear entrances that allow for a split. So you'll be able to get into the garage at the basement level through a secured lobby and either go up to your floor or up to the lobby.
But the only other question I have regarding that is with emergency vehicles, for example, an ambulance. Will an ambulance fit inside your underground garage?
No,
Or they will have to go to a main entrance or to an end emergency exit?
they would. I mean, because an ambulance is basically to provide for an ambulance, you really want a 14-foot clear.
Okay, the only reason I ask is, are you familiar with Copperwood in?
I am.
In Copperwood and Princeton, the squad can get in there
Mhm.
with their ambulance.
Yeah,
That's the only garage in Princeton that they can do that with.
I know.
So that's why I'm
Yeah.
trying to find out if
Yeah,
this is gonna be like.
no, it's not.
Or not.
We weren't planning on having the,
Thank you.
right.
They'll park outside
I
and
see.
they'll run the stretcher inside.
All right, I was just gonna suggest, in terms of minimum lighting level. In the garage, at least 0.5 foot candle
okay.
before you end up turning it on, and it should really be brighter, I mean. Any garage that I've been into is much higher than 0.5. So,
I just want to, we'll discuss it with the engineer
Yeah.
and whatever he's comfortable with and you're comfortable with, that's what we'll do.
Isn't there emergency lighting on all the time anyway?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
And the building will have a generator.
okay.
the emergency lighting was just,
Yeah, no,
but
yeah,
It's selected circuits and
Yep.
controls different things.
Maybe again, just for sake of discussion,
Excuse me?
like under your flood. And your open garage here, the door. What, you have any pumping or something to pump the water out?
that's interesting.
Well, yeah, you will. I
You
mean,
have, I'm asking question.
yeah, you'll have to. I mean, that's part of the
You
garages.
might be saying you have to, but
You-
are you
We
providing?
will, and we, you know, again, it goes to one of the other comments about the sewer level and the level of the sewer itself relative to the lowest level of the building. And there were questions in, I think was it Mr. Gusick's memo about, yes, and that's something that during our construction document phase, we're gonna work on. We may have to pump it.
As we go through resolution compliance, we'll add these requirements. When you said sheet one, you're talking about A4, the first of the white sheets, right?
Yeah,
You said it was 4 elements.
yes,
Somebody had it right.
okay.
Uh, Electric charging station.
Oh, the electric charging stations. I think the way to do this, in my feeling is you have to have them both inside and outside. But I'd like to talk to your fire official to make sure he's comfortable with indoor charging stations.
I can tell you right now, our motion, 400 steps application, adamantly said no charging underground.
I'm fine with that. I mean, you know, it varies area to area, but you know, you hear these horror stories. So I would think that, probably
The
just
reasoning is
keeping them
what,
all
fire?
outside.
Okay.
Yes, the garage, you were speaking about it. It's coming.
Right.
Type of facilities.
Copperwood?
Copperwood is a,
Assisted living.
no, it's
No.
a independent, living, it's a senior housing facility.
I'm very familiar with that project. It's very much.
You voted no for that.
Oh,
Except-
well, you're on the what?
Sorry, sorry.
Oh, you're on the zoning board?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Don't hold that against me.
Eve Colson's on there. I know
Yes,
Eve.
Olson.
Okay.
No, that,
Huh?
at least I have hair. This is all I have from a presentation standpoint, but I did go through Mr. Gusick's memo. And I think I don't take any exception with anything he's asking for. I think that we have, as I said before, when we get into the preparation of construction documents.
You speak into the microphone. I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I don't have any problem with what you've asked for, but I think some of them, as we get further into the construction, if we do, drawing preparation, then I will talk to you about some of these.
Steve, did you say you don't, Steve, did you say over here, did you say you don't have a problem with any of the recommendations that Francis made?
I think there was, again, there's some things in here. There's some things in here, on page 5, that I talk about, you know, your comment 4.02, 03, 04. Those are the ones that I say that as we get further into the specifics of this, we'll work on that and I'll review those with you. Let's see. No, the only other, then, so I went through Mr. Gusick's memo. And again, those items that are questionable, I think I talked about, some of the lighting and, then the next memo is the Burgess memo of February 12th. And, he talks about the design of the pavilion, which I addressed. It'll be consistent with the material with the building itself. And then the lower level parking area, he talks about mechanical ventilation, and we know we have mechanical ventilation.
Steve, are you referring to Ed Sneakus's memo? Not David?
No. He's talking about the planners.
Oh, you're talking about David
Yeah.
Novak's memo.
No.
No, friends.
No.
I'm talking about, I thought it was the Burgess memo. I haven't.
Well, there are two versions.
Oh, there are two versions.
We're both versions.
Oh, okay. Yes. Sorry, oops, sorry about that. Okay, so I think that pretty much.
I'm sorry, Steve, if you could go back over Ed's memo and what you agree to, if there's anything you don't agree to.
I didn't catch that, sorry.
If you were going over Ed's memo, but there was a confusion as to which memo you were going over. And can you go over that again? Did you have any
Sure.
issues with anything that he raised?
On the Burgess memo, I guess?
Well, there are two Burgess memos.
Yes,
One,
but both have the same date. This is the Ed Sneakers
these-
memo.
Yeah, these are, oh, no, I agree with all that, yeah. Oh, I do agree with it. Yes, I take no exception to the memo.
Mr. Chairman, I have one last question. You can do it from the exhibit side. Yeah. Just, these, the colors that I see here on exhibits 1, 2,
Oh.
and 3, are they the colors that we expect to build?
Yes.
Like when it's erected.
Yes.
So tell me about the difference.
Okay, but one thing, in the packets that I presented, the last sheet, it's an 8.5 by 11. It's a picture of the board, the material board that I used in the last presentation 3 years ago or 2 years ago. Which quite frankly is since. And so this is a picture of that board. This is composite panels, basically hardy board in different shapes and configurations. There's board and batten, there's some shingles, there's again in there whites and grays. And yes, that was the original proposal. That's the proposal now. Consistent.
okay,
So it's not
89.
monotone.
No, it's not monochrome, right?
There's just some brick that.
There's some stone on the ends of the building. Let's see. Yeah, the stone is here in it's different area. Base of the building above the garage is stone. The end walls are partially stone.
We're gonna mark this A9.
If you would like.
And the Burgess memo from David Novak, you have no issues with that? You agree with everything in this memo? The second Burgess memo?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
David
Delegated to the
first.
second memo.
I think David was a few minutes earlier than,
My mind will be first.
Oh, my ego.
Mr. Wall, do you retain?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you take words for all of them. Right.
Okay.
Any other questions?
yes.
Nothing further.
I'm sorry, Mr. Sneakus has a question.
I got it. With regard to standing garages, those freestanding pieces, the 24 spaces, is it possible to make them make ready for available electric vehicles in the future?
It's interesting. I mean, it's very simple
It's
to
worth it.
do that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Does the fire chief have any issues with those types of garages to have charging stations?
But
Okay.
those make ready provisions can be on the front of the garage since that one person would share. One family.
Understood, but
Yeah.
that's something that the chief is very
Exactly.
aware of, and you know, I can understand the underground and potential for fire and the building going up, but these are above ground garages and let him opine
Yeah,
on it.
that's fine.
We do provide provision for it. And in a location that is satisfactory.
Okay, and so the condition would be they'll make them ready, but the fire chief will approve the location if allowed.
Right.
Okay,
You're okay with that, right, Daphne?
right.
Say yes. Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Carl Pankey is here, our traffic engineer, but I think we've addressed.
Thank
the,
you.
Parking issues, the number of parking, the modified waiver that we're requesting, but if anyone has additional questions about that, he's the traffic consultant, the expert on all issues involving traffic in the park.
Okay,
Well, I thought our traffic professional had some unanswered questions on his report, unless they've been answered.
Yes, I've reviewed it and they have addressed all the comments. I don't
Oh.
have any outstanding comments.
Satisfied.
Yes. That's true.
there's a later memo.
Oh, there's a later memo?
Yeah, February 14th.
Okay, so let the record reflect that all the all the questions raised were addressed and accepted.
That is correct.
Okay,
Okay, and then also present is our landscape architect. I wasn't going to call him on the record. I think Daphne responded to his issues, but he's here. And if anybody has specific questions for the landscape architect, he is here.
Mr. Chairman, I believe they've addressed all our questions in the report.
so, okay, so they addressed all the issues you had with the extra plantings not blocking ventilation,
Right.
so on and so forth.
Correct. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, they also in the engineering report addressed the two lighting comments, 501 and 5.02, with some updated drawings. So the indication that there might be slight increases in the average level, they've addressed to make sure that there's no increase over the last approval. So the lighting levels for the exterior will be similar to what was previously approved.
okay. I just had a quick question. I don't know who's gonna answer this. So the underground garages are new. Are there gonna be signs to indicate the maximum height allowed inside the garage? Will that be posted somewhere? Does that have to be posted somewhere?
I mean, it'd be posted at all entrances.
Okay, so,
And that can be, if it's not already on our plans, that can be a condition of approval.
okay, 'cause I don't know if that's one of those sign packages that has to be, because is it a required sign, directional sign, you know?
Glad it signed that.
Okay, and that's great. And I think it is, the lowest entry point is 7 feet, is that right? Okay, so I'm not parking my Amazon van in there anytime soon.
Try to stay in the middle,
You're
What?
in there.
Try to stay in the middle.
Oh, yeah, if I go in the middle, maybe it goes, I can get in.
You just can't get out. You can get in, but you can't get out.
I can't put the luggage rack on top of my Hummer.
No.
Okay.
Don't go to take bite on it.
Yeah, the bike has to come off. Okay,
It'll come off one way or another.
yeah,
Last witness.
Yep.
There was a question about, the amount of parking, the need for the amount of parking, why we call this an enhancement that we need in order to compete. And Mr. Ron Camp is here. The answer to that, I just need to qualify first.
Sure.
And then you can address that. And so Craig, please, what's your full name, for the record?
John Craig Randy.
Well, okay. And by whom were you employed and what capacity?
Self-employed splinter.
Okay. What's your education background? How many different licenses do you hold in New Jersey?
I'll do this real quick. Undergraduate Penn, graduate Georgetown, postgraduate certificate in negotiations from Harvard. Been in the field 44 years, 29 licenses in New Jersey, license is currently valid. Qualified in over 100 hearings and trials in New Jersey and appear before planning and zoning boards throughout the state, including this. Not in a while.
Okay, we'll take it now.
Yeah, I'll think now.
okay, any issues with qualification? Okay, accepted, thank you.
Okay, Craig, you have one issue to address.
Actually, I had two, but Mr. Novak jumped on the affordable housing with me. And I just concur with the opinion that you heard from your professionals. That in the co world, if the only parking we were providing was underground parking, we would be providing that free to our residents. Here, what's being provided to the residents free is the surface parking, and developers, as was read to you, are allowed to provide premium services for a fee. That fee is the same for whatever customer chooses to use that premium service. So that's completely consistent with COA rules. That was a late second round report, but in the draft UAC regs that are circulating now, the same language appears. So that will be continued, that the developers are allowed to provide
additional premium services to the residents. One of the questions that was asked was why freestanding garages if you're already providing spaces. Mr. Mizuka started to address it. Short answer is toys. Antique cars, people with motorcycles, three-wheeled motorcycles that want to have more protection for that unique vehicle that you would get, even in an enclosed garage. Maybe even a small trailer if somebody's doing a small sailboat or kayaks. This is a place where people could put things that would actually be individually secured. So you'll see antique cars and motorcycles and that sort of thing. So it's a different kind of amenity than simply keeping you out of the rain. It's giving you a sheltered space for your toys, essentially. The gentleman asked an interesting question. What if everybody takes the garage? Doesn't that mean your surface parking is going to be extra? The answer is yes. The problem is you don't know that until you've built it and the customers have decided whether or not they're willing to pay the premium. So you can't not build it because you may actually need it. So right idea, but the timing doesn't work to take advantage of that, at least in the first program. And on the question of why so many spaces, we are still providing the necessary minimum number of spaces in the surface configuration. So that the interior spaces are a duplication of sort, because we're still providing free available parking that meets the minimum requirement for the municipality. And one of the reasons for that is you can think about designated spaces, and all of the interior spaces in garages are rented and designated for an individual. That becomes very inefficient parking. As your snowbirds go to Florida, people are cruising. In a normal parking lot, that means 20 to 25 or more % of your parking is for people who aren't on site at the time. You don't have those kinds of efficiencies if everybody owns their own space. That space is theirs, whether they've gone away for 3 months or not. So by adding this kind of controlled parking, it's going to be inherently more inefficient than just a parking lot. And as Daphne testified to earlier, we're still under the RSIS maximum. So it's not as if we're over parking for the kind of parking, the kind of development that's occurring here, but we're not taking advantage of the municipality saying that in a common lot for this use, we know that a third of the people aren't going to be home at any particular time. That won't be the case with rented spaces. So that's why it's more than we would traditionally do, but still less than what RSIS would require. I won't put RSIS too hard, but the amendment didn't just make it a maximum that any town can pick a number below. It's that a developer can propose a number below and the board can accept it. So we're in that kind of environment. So just a little bit more loosey than simply pegging an ordinance.
Excuse me, you're talking about these snowbirds going to Florida and the spaces underneath being open. Didn't they also sublease those spaces to other tenants?
Theoretically possible, but I've never seen that actually happen.
Well, it's possible that could occur.
The landlord isn't going to get in the business of subleasing individual spaces.
No, not the landlord.
If you're saying, could they Airbnb their space to other people in the building? I suppose. You know, if somebody has a guest stay, they might talk to their neighbor.
Well, there's no prohibition against that.
Not that we've thought of imposing.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it would make sense to utilize those things if they're not there.
Well, in an urban setting where all the parking is underneath, if I was a consultant and going to that building, they'll tell me parking in 22 because we know that residence is away for 3 years. The management stays at that level of management. Here, I don't expect that to occur because you've got all the surface spaces. Exactly. So it's not going to pay for them to have a parking manager on staff doing that level of management.
I'm not asking for a parking manager.
Right.
I think people should have the ability to sublease their spaces if they so choose.
Does it have to be a tenant?
To prevent that.
It has to be a tenant. There's so many spaces. I don't know if there's going to be a market for that.
Well, I'm not sure, but I wouldn't want to prohibit them.
I have a question about the above ground garages.
Yes.
Are they required to be utilized for a vehicle? As opposed to boxes and storage of extra space?
I was going to ask that.
Yes.
It's
I thought you were going to differentiate trailers.
no, because no, not a trailer, not a boat, but boxes of collectibles or rags or
They're not
whatever.
meant to be an alternative for self-storage.
So if you have storage in there, that's not what we're renting it to you for.
I don't want to go so far as to be ridiculous that somebody can't have tools on a wall or something.
Well, I'm not talking,
But-
yeah, I'm
but
not.
Yes, it's not going to be a self-storage substitute.
Okay,
So if someone is storing boxes and whatever personal belongings there, you're going to say something to them.
Yes, I think to the extent that the volume of the material in that space is being used for storage and not for a vehicle or a
Right,
trailer.
right.
Yes, of course, management would certainly say something about that.
Okay, but the facility itself is not designed for having storage for individual residents,
It's not.
other
intended to be
than
a
their,
replacement
other
for
than their
self-storage.
residents.
there's no other storage areas in the
in the
facility anywhere.
facility.
I
You
think,
need the architect for that.
is there any excess storage spaces?
Other spots in their face. The idea is somebody moves in, you don't want that. More light storage.
Okay,
In my experience, what happens? People who live, who provide storage, that stuff goes in, they never access it, and they move out, pass away, and they're stuck. It is encouraged that people get rid of it.
that's why they have a reality show, Storage Wars.
Right. Yes, that's why I'm sure you've seen self-storage applications over the last few years.
And there's one being built right down the street from the municipal building.
So the last issue I had was tandem parking. It's not functionally tandem because it's the single person owning both. So to the extent
Okay.
that's a waiver, it makes sense. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have nothing further, from my witnesses on a direct basis, but if there. No, okay. Where's the end? So unless there are additional, I'm only kidding, I was gonna have a wait, Anthony sit down. Unless there are additional questions, we have nothing further.
Okay, any other questions?
One last question. When do you expect to mobilize it, to start this project?
Just very quickly, this property is under contract, it's been through due diligence. So we expect in April.
First of May,
First of May.
assuming 26 days after the resolution is passed.
Right.
In the meantime, we're finding development, advise the developer to bring this bond, so we can immediately mobilize a survey.
It's all in one phase, or yes, phases like one phase, two, whatever?
Basically, when phase, when one side go up with the best, and they never made, but both ends. But the site work is all gonna be done at one time.
Right.
The slabs are gonna be put in and so with it.
As Mr. Goosey knows, we have a pretty firm deadline on starting site improvements, especially sanitary sewer. So we're moving as quickly as possible. Again, we've gotten through due diligence, so the buyer is looking for this approval, looking for the resolution of approval, so the appeal period runs. And as we said, we're hoping for the closing late April, early May.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Professionals, any other comments, questions, points that you need to make on this? David, Quasi, Ed, Fran?
No, nothing from me. I think I was the only one that didn't address their memo. Mine was dated February 12th, 2025, the second Burgess memo. I believe the applicant has addressed all the comments in that memo, so I thank them for that.
Okay. Anybody else? Everything's been addressed. Okay, great.
Yeah, no further questions here, but there are a number of recommended conditions, so
Okay,
I didn't hear any objections to any of those.
Okay, and the applicant has agreed to those conditions, so we're all good on that.
Well, as I remember the conditions, one is the developer's agreement.
We agree to that.
There's, if you want to react to them, sure. The developers agreement, as you indicated, Title 39 enforcement for traffic, the updated sewer wastewater discharge rate determination and the potential allocation of additional flow from council, which would also then trigger a possible reimbursement for flow improvements at the South Post Pump Station. The other wastewater ones, Mr. Cohen talked about and said he was okay with, and that was it.
Yeah, I mean,
Part of the approval was you had to provide construction ready plans. Which we did. Okay. So there would be a potential credit against all kind of roadside.
yeah, what,
Of course, all conditions not previously satisfied are moving forward. The only one that I know of, got the plans approved, is the intersection. The county goes through the plans, we have to make those. That's our.
if I may for a moment, just following up on what Francis said. And Francis, correct me if I'm wrong. The conditions are in 1.02 by the C of O, and correcting the existing site amenities. 2.04 Title 39 enforcement, you talked about that.
Correct.
The utilities 4.01.
Correct.
4.0 through 03, which is a dog wash grooming station. Do we want to put that in? Oh, they're proposing one. So yeah, so that would be. We would
Right.
need that. The swimming pool we talked about. The lighting, we talked about that. That's 5.01 and 5.02.
Well, 501 and 5.02 are not applicable anymore.
Oh, no, okay.
They've satisfied those.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And 5.03, they indicated that the hours of illumination waiver that they previously obtained will be abided by. So there's no further change proposed for the hours of illumination.
That's great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
And talking about sewer out.
Okay.
We won't worry about that. I saw what.
Okay. So, and then, other conditions were they're gonna make the, charging ready, the garages, surface garages.
Well, I thought they'd change that a bit.
Oh, yeah.
They'll identify locations
That's right.
for
I'm
make
sorry.
ready spaces, if fire chief will approve the location.
And then once approved, they'll, make them ready to be installed if needed.
Yeah,
And they indicated that.
Although not in the.
No, not underground. This is above grade garages.
Yeah, they had indicated that they were going to sign spaces
Right.
below.
yeah, I could go through the ones that, yeah.
And also, I had recommended a minimum 0.5, but yeah.
Yep, I have that also. I could go over all,
No.
Yeah, go over your,
let me,
Your notes,
just so we're all on the same page. The underground spaces will be assigned.
Sorry, Barry, the lighting.
Okay,
He's gonna get there.
I'm gonna get there. Yep. First, underground spaces will be assigned. There'll be bike racks in the front area. What more do we want to say about that?
Area.
I'm sorry.
Adjacent to the. Yes, Jason.
Hold on. Number and location subject to Francis's approval.
Okay.
Hold on. That variance with respect to the distance from the internal driveway, that's still in effect. We talked about the pool water. Minimum lighting in the garage, 0.5 foot candles. The make-ready stations we talked about. The old conditions will continue to apply and the ones in the various reports.
And you could put in there that there will be no EV charging stations in the
Sure.
underground garage or the fire chief.
Okay. Okay, so Fran, you're good?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a couple other notes I had was they'll provide a decorative screen of any rooftop unit if it proves to be visible color to match the building color,
Okay.
and that the building amenities will not be open to the general public, will serve the residents only.
The only.
Yeah, yeah. No,
The cafe is open to
the
Hamlet.
Yep.
And it's open to the assisted living, but not.
Not the general public. Okay.
I do have a question. What is a demonstration kitchen? I saw that on there.
Somebody might do a cooking class, something like that. The residents may want somebody to come in and do baking and things. Yeah.
Is that in the pavilion?
No, it's off of the main dining area in the central part of the building.
That's fine.
Near the future indoor pickleball court. Okay.
Okay, anything else from the professionals? Nothing, planning board members, any questions? Okay, at this time, I'd like to open it up to the public. Any questions from the public on this application? Please step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. You'll be sworn in. Don't all rush up. Okay, hearing none.
I'll move the public.
Move to close the public hearing.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay,
You had your chance, Carl.
any other comments, any questions, comments from my board members?
let me just ask David, there's no variances. Are there any waivers that they need?
There's no new variances that are required. The two waivers that they are requesting would be for the tandem parking spaces as well as the excess parking spaces. No.
Okay. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve PB 19-13 Second Amendment.
I'll make that motion to approve with the conditions as outlined by our attorney. And.
Okay.
And
And waivers. Okay, moved by Alan, second by Anis. Please call the roll.
Mr. Patel?
Yeah.
Mr. Shucktown?
Yes.
Mr. Panko?
Yes.
Mr. Bate?
Yes.
Ms. Berry?
Yes.
Mayor Marte?
Yes.
Chairman Clark?
Yes, motion carries. Congratulations. Okay, make sure Curtis gets his. Okay, meeting adjourned.
This project, along with the village grant and the assisted living project. We could see in the Zeitz living rooms between Max, Ben and myself.
It's all
1994.
recorded. He sends the link.
You came
He
to
can tell you
town
the link.
because
Yeah, he sends me a link
Zeitz
and
wanted to put a
it's
big
really
subdivision
clear.
in
It's
here.
all.
And the town said no. came down and approached this. And we sat down.
You can still hear it.
And
Yeah, it's really good.
And we worked out this plan that I think is over the years. Except for the fact that it's never got, I had a bill. I did a very, very successful one.
Yeah, thanks.
I hope that going forward, the construction, management, the development of this, that's the spirit of cooperative. Goes forward, and I thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was 5 years ago.
He's got